Hi. Petra is one of those places that everybody's got to visit once. Keep watching and I'll tell you about my experience. Hi, I'm Jen Oakbridge. I'm the Cruise Queen. Petra is in Jordan, near Aqaba, and it's one of those incredible places that everyone has got to see. It's sometimes called the Secret City or even the Pink City because it's made of like red sandstone, which is quite amazing, but also it takes a bit of effort to get there. So when we dock in the ship, you dock at Aqaba in Jordan, and there's not much there, to be quite honest. Last time we didn't go into Petra because we'd already done it. We just got off and had a wander around, and yes, not very exciting. So next time we'll just stay on board ship. I actually wanted to get some kind of sweet. My throat was a little dry and I wanted to get something to suck. So that's why we got off and went for a wander around. But to go to Petra, now it's a bit of a drive to get from the port to the entrance to Petra. So there are trips that you can get, but this particular time we decided to go with the cruise line. Now, as with every trip, it's probably a lot cheaper if you book it outside of the cruise line. We didn't do any research on it. We had met some people in Genoa, so before we'd actually made a decision about what to do, we bumped into some people that were staying in a hotel close to ours. We ended up having dinner with them, made friends with them, and discovered that they had booked Petra with the cruise line. And they asked us if we were going to go. So we decided, so that we could go with them, that we would book the trip too. I can't remember what it cost now. It was, I mean, it's quite expensive, but it was one of these once-in-a-lifetime trips that you do. And when you get to Petra, that we went on a coach, got to the entrance of Petra, got off the coach, and we were told where to meet them back at a hotel, which was a couple of hundred yards from the entrance to Petra, and we were going to have lunch there before we went back to the ship. So got to the entrance of Petra. Now, to actually walk to the city, you have to go through this this walkway, which is lined with cliffs on either side. It's like a passageway cut through the rock, and it's a long walk. A lot of people walked it. My husband and her husband walked it, and she and I got a horse and cart. Now, I was going to walk it originally. I wouldn't have bothered if it was just Alan and myself. I wouldn't have bothered getting a horse and cart. They warn you against it, that it's dangerous and insurance doesn't cover you and that kind of stuff. But, you know, to be honest, I don't get scared by that stuff. But Anne, my friend, had just had knee surgery, so there was no way she was going to walk it. So she said, well, I've got this horse and cart booked. They'd already pre-booked it. And so she said, you come with me and they can walk. Well, it was the funniest experience I've ever had. Scary. He was cantering his horse, and everything was jiggling. I mean, we took a selfie, which was all over the place because we were jiggling. We were giggling so much. It was really crazy. But when we got there quite a long time before the men got there. And when you arrive in front of the treasury, which is quite spectacular as a building, because all of these buildings in Petra have been carved out of the rock. It took, I think it was some people called the Nabateans, I think it was, and that's like several hundred years BC. They built it, and it took about 500 years for them to build. So I mean, it was a long job, right? And there about 10,000 people lived there for quite a long time. So this city was just a working city. And Petra has the most astonishing water management system. So floods were prevented by these cisterns that they built. They cut into the rock, and they preserved the water so that there was water for drinking and bathing and so on. Some even suggested that they had swimming pools, which they may well have had. So it was quite an incredible place, and there's a lot to see there. But one of the nice things when we got there, something happened which was quite unusual. We got there and realised that neither of us had got any money. The money was with the men. So, and they hadn't arrived yet because they were walking, and we'd had this bone shaking, boob shaking, if it was like a weight loss program, it could shake it all off, trip to the treasury itself. And there was this little cafe there, so I thought, well, let's be cheeky. So we went up and said, look, we haven't got any money. Our husband's got the money and they're walking. But is there any way we could just get some water until our husbands arrive? And they said, yes, have whatever you like. So I actually got juice, I think, and we went and sat down. And there was no question. I said, we could write you an IOU, or, we can give you, you can hold my watch for security or whatever. They said, no, not at all, don't worry. And they gave us whatever we wanted, and we went and sat down and waited for the men to arrive, and then they went off and paid for it. But it was just so lovely. The people were just so nice. But Petra itself is a sight to behold. Some of you will have seen some of it in different movies. There's quite a few movies that have been made there, or bits of the movies have been shot there. One movie that's very famous is Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade, and quite a lot of Petra was used for some scenes in that film. But there are other films too where Petra has been used as a movie set. So it's quite famous. Now, Petra is sometimes called the Lost City, as I mentioned. It was discovered by a Swiss guy called Johann Burckhardt, and he tricked his way in by saying that he wanted to go and worship some god there. And so he managed to get to the Lost City, but it was kept very quiet. It was invaded by several people. The Romans invaded in, I think, just past 100 BC, AD. The Romans invaded, and they were there for a couple of hundred years until the 4th century. And then the Byzantines, they invaded, and then they took over until the 8th century, and then they just abandoned it. So it was kind of been left there to fall apart ever since. But it's in remarkable condition. The buildings are stunning. It's just a feat of engineering which is unprecedented. So it really is necessary to go and look. You've got to do it. Now, coming back from there, a lot of people walked there, but they wanted to come back. And of course, we booked our cart to come back at a certain time, but it didn't come on time. We were having to wait. There was a guy there with all the numbers. We knew which numbers ours was, but people were clamoring to try and get a cart back because the walk there had just wiped them out. So they were trying to get a cart back. But if you're going to get a cart, book a cart to go both directions, because if you book a cart to go both ways, I think it was about 10 euros each or 15 euros each, something like that. But if you didn't book a cart going, now bear in mind it's a seller's market, they were charging up to 50 euros for a seat back on a horse and cart. So, and people were scrambling to get on. We had to fight to get our own buggy. It's like, no, this is our buggy. No, we're getting on it first. We said, no, we booked it. This is ours. So get out the way. So we managed to get back. And we had to wait, and Alan and Paul walked on ahead of us because we knew they would take a lot longer than us. But we had to wait quite a long time past our booking time because people were so desperately, they were clambering on to the buggies to get a trip back. So it's just worth remembering that if you're not up for a long walk and there's a bit of an incline as well, So if you're not up for that long walk, then you're better off getting a buggy or a donkey or something to go there so you can ride. Another interesting fact about Petra is that it was built so that the sun would reflect and illuminate the sacred places. So it was all very carefully engineered and carefully structured so that it was special. So yeah, definitely a must-see. Don't know what trips are available outside the cruise ship. Worth every penny of a trip within the cruise ship. We got back, walked to the hotel, had a lunch there, which was very nice. A buffet lunch, a bit curryish for me, but it was nice. And then went back to the ship. So well worth it. So if this has been useful to you, then hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Do give me a thumbs up to like and share this with your friends. I'm Jan Oakbridge. I'm the Cruise Queen. Have an awesome day.